What's up, guys? Welcome to Gwhisky. My name's Jeff. Now, this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, why don't we jump into a review? Today, we're looking at the Deanston 2008 Bordeaux red wine cask matured. Stick around. So we're back today with another Deanston, which is a Highland distillery. I think this is maybe my third or fourth review of a Deanston. And if you've watched any of those previous reviews, you'll know that historically I haven't done too well with the brand, but things have been changing for the better recently. The Deanston bottlings from 10 years ago were very different from the Deanstons that we have today. I remember they were very floral, very perfumey. They kind of reminded me of that cheap Stetson's cologne, if you've ever smelled that. Yeah, I didn't vibe with the flavors at all. I remember having a bottle of the 12 about 10 years back and thinking very little of it. But Deanston has changed a lot over the last 10 years, and certainly so has my palate. For sure, Deanston's tweaked some of their formulas. Seems like they've doubled down on their quality. And there's just been a huge swell of interest in the brand over the last 5 years or so. I remember they were pretty obscure back in the day. But it's at the point now where Deanston's been kind of embraced by the whiskey community as one of the new kings of craft. They've done really well with their core range. People absolutely love the 12-year-old. They love the 18-year-old. They fare really well in reviews. But they've also done well with their special releases, their one-off releases. Usually those releases are going to involve some kind of special cask finish, some kind of special wine finish. In the case of today's whiskey, this one has been finished in red wine casks from Bordeaux. So this is a 9-year-old whiskey, and what they do with these special releases is they release them as vintages. So the whiskey in here was distilled back in 2008. Now, I looked around online to try and find out how long the finish was for. I couldn't find anything about it. If you know anything about that, do let me know down in the comments. But having tasted this, I can say that it's probably spent a fair amount of time in some pretty active casks. Anyway, Deanston has been improving dramatically in my book. I've really been getting into their stuff lately, and it's so much better than I remember it being. So why don't we see if that trend continues with this one? Why don't we hop into a review here, see what this whiskey's all about, and in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Of course, we're dealing with a Deanston here, so our specs are going to be just fine. This one comes in with a hefty ABV of 57.1%. Of course, it's going to be non-chill filtered, and it is naturally colored. The people at Deanston know what they're doing. So you can take a look at this beautiful natural color to our whiskey here. It's very dark with kind of like a red wine tan and haze to it. For the bottle itself, I've said in the past, I do like these Deanston bottles. Obviously, they're going for a craft look. You have our faux printed on stamp and signatures here. Why not? Yeah, presentation score, maybe 4 out of 5. We've got cask strength and unchill filtered right here. I don't know why they don't mention that it's naturally colored. They certainly should. I do like that they give us the vintage. They don't just say 9 years old. They tell us that the whiskey was distilled in 2008, so nice bit of extra info there. If we look at the back, we've got a few tasting notes and not much else. So aside from the craft posturing, it's a very clean, pretty fluff-free look. Yeah, solid presentation. All right, let's try our nose. So very fruity and intense. Definitely the wine cask is talking very loudly here, but it comes off sweet and full. It's not too tannic. So lots of berries. I'm getting a tart cranberry. I'm getting a big raspberry note. Some blackberry jam maybe. Cherries, strawberries, basically just all the berries. We've got leather. We've got some oak spice, and we also have some roasted nuts in here. This is an extremely fruity nose. Let's try our palate. Okay, a very oily texture here. Again, very fruity. Our palate is going to be much more tannin forward than the nose. We're going to start off with some berries. Of course, those red wine tannins. We have some chocolate in here, but like dark chocolate, very dark, like 90%. We also have some maltiness, some cereal in here, some oak spice, and some raisins. And now the finish. Okay. We're getting a little bit darker here. We're going to start off with some juicy dates, some caramel, some stroopwafels. We also have cranberry juice, a little bit tart. We've got some red wine tannins, of course, We've got some blood oranges, also some chocolate notes, some almonds, and some leather. So this would be a medium to long finish, very good intensity. We're lingering on some Black Forest cake. So we often refer to whiskeys with a strong sherry influence as sherry bombs. Now, wine bomb doesn't have quite the same ring to it, but I would settle for calling this a fruit bomb. This is all the power and all the intensity that we want from a cask strength whiskey. Those 9 years in the cask have rounded out a lot of those rougher edges. This never comes across too young or too hot. And yeah, this stuff is just so fruit forward. It's heaps and heaps of berries. We have some light approachable tannins in here that kind of round out that fruitiness. Throw in just a touch of leather, some oak spice, and there's your profile. This is a big, fun whiskey. As I said, very, very fruity, but be warned, this is all cask. If you're looking for those light, delicate, maybe honey or cereal notes that Deanston's so famous for, this one's not going to be your best bet. But if you dig deep enough, you can maybe find some of those flavors. There's definitely a cereal note in here. There might be a touch of honey way at the back, but they're certainly not the centerpiece of this whiskey. So yeah, with regards to reception, people have divided opinions on this whiskey. Some people love how big and loud and fruity it is. Other people call it overly simple. They'll call it a one-trick pony. They'll say the flavors are dominated by those red wine tannins, by that loud fruitiness, and that oak spice. And they're not wrong. It is a bit of a one-trick pony, but tell you what, it's a good trick. Not only that, I think they nailed the red wine cask finish. Now, red wine finishes in general, they can be a little bit inconsistent. They're not nearly as consistent as your traditional finishes like sherry or port. Now we need to understand that red wine as a category is much bigger and broader than something like sherry, which might explain some of that inconsistency, but yeah, they certainly don't always work. And when they don't work, the balance can be all over the place. The wine doesn't incorporate into or bind itself to the whiskey quite as successfully as some other finishes out there do, if that makes sense. But when it does work, when they do get that balance right, they can be fantastic whiskeys. We can expect some big fruity flavors, and I particularly like how the tannins can complement the whiskey. Now, in the case of this one, I think they did it successfully. I think we've got some decent balance in here with some big flavors. So if you like this kind of whiskey, big fruit forward flavors, this will be one to try. So yeah, this is a fun one, and I don't think it's quite as simple or as one-dimensional as some of the naysayers out there claim it to be. There is stuff going on with this whiskey, but certainly it is a cask-driven whiskey. Not even cask-driven, it's cask-dominated. So if you're looking for those traditional Deanston flavors, you might want to look elsewhere in their range. If you're okay with a strong red wine finish, if you want to see an example of a red wine finish done right, try this one. I think they chose some excellent casks to finish it in, and yeah, it's good stuff. So score here, 88. So obviously we can recommend this for people who like red wine, but I'd also recommend it to people who like sherried whiskeys but want to branch out a little bit, or those of you who want to sort of explore a different side of Deanston. Like I said, they really went all in on this cask finish. If I were to describe this whiskey in 3 words, it would be big, fruity, and fun. And it's worth noting that while it is a powerful and intense whiskey, it's still very approachable. So as long as you're okay with cask strength whiskeys, and I'm sure that 99% of you out there who are watching are, you might just enjoy this one. Now, it's certainly not the most refined Deanston out there, but as far as I'm concerned, it's thoroughly enjoyable. As I mentioned, this was a limited release. I think it came out last year or a couple of years back, so I'm not sure if it's still available in your area, but if you can find it, it's worth seeking out. So our value on this one is going to be excellent. This is very cheap for an age-stated cask strength whiskey, but limited edition, so I think some of the prices out there are starting to climb. Here in Taiwan, there's quite a few discrepancies between shops with regards to the price of this one. Some have bumped it up quite a bit, while others have kept it pretty close to that original price. But this was an absolute steal at its original price, and honestly, if I couldn't find it for cheaper, I'd still probably dish out a couple extra dollars or pounds just to get my hands on it. It's still a reasonable price for the quality of the whiskey that you're getting, so if you can find it and it's not exorbitantly priced, grab it if you're interested. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and of course, smash the like. Now, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried the Deanston Bordeaux finish? What were your thoughts on it? Finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.